Hey everybody, we're having a squeaking sound. The truck was originally brought in complaining of a noise that it was making while it was running, and it wasn't making the noise anytime that I started it or drove it around, and so I couldn't figure out what noise it was. And then when I turned a corner, then I heard like a humming sound, like if it was power steering, so I assumed that was the noise they were talking about. Well, this morning I changed the gearbox because the gearbox was leaking. We got another video on that. The gearbox is brand new. It's down there. That's an old stain on the floor, so that doesn't count right now. But what I did in the past was this alternator was making a noise, so we changed that. That noise was gone. It was like a grinding, clicking noise. So we changed that. That noise went away. And while I was at it, I noticed that this pulley and the tensioner pulley were pretty worn. And they had some wobble and tilt when you go side to side this way. This way is normal, this way is not. So they were loose, so I assumed that noise was coming from there. They were pretty worn out. Had to be replaced because that's general maintenance. Was a safety issue, so we just went ahead and changed that. Because once you lose your belt, you have no more power steering assist. You'll still have air conditioning, but you won't be able to cool your engine because the water pump will stop once this front belt breaks off. Also, what we did was we replaced that tensioner. That one was really gone. I have that on my last video, and you could tell the difference on the wobble on that one and the other one. This one was really crooked, and there was a burnt plastic skid marking on the pulley itself, which told me that the lubrication was gone, and the belt was flying past it and burning the pulley. So now we got it this morning on a cold start, and the belt looks okay. I don't see no cracks in it, but usually, even though it looks okay, when there's a small misalignment issue on the pulleys, like if they're not perfectly in a row like that, you see how I'm showing it to you? I think you can pretty much see that there is a small misalignment. It's perfectly straight with the power steering, but when you go across the top, you see how it kind of goes that way, just a tad. But that's not really nothing to bat an eyelash at. You know, usually a belt can take a small misalignment, but this one is a used belt, and if you look at it, it still has a original GM belt. And this is how we're going to do the test to see if we have a misalignment issue, a bad pulley or bearing, or a bad belt. So first I'm going to start it so that you can hear the noise. So I'm assuming this is the noise that they said they were hearing that I couldn't hear before because maybe the truck was warm. But what I did get was a bottle of water. And if I spray the under part, the ribbed area with water, and it quiets down, then it's going to be an alignment belt issue. If it doesn't quiet down, then we're going to have a bearing issue, which most of the stuff we've already replaced, except for the water pump, but that's a giant water pump. That's not your normal water pump, and that's going to be a pretty expensive one. So we don't want them replacing something they don't need to, and then at the end of the job, it still have the same squeak. So this is what we're doing. See? No more squeak. And if I let it run long enough, by the time the water evaporates, the squeak will come back. So since everything else is still spinning, it's not going to be a bearing split. You can barely hear the squeaking coming back. Yeah, so since everything's spinning, I'm going to wet it a little bit more. Spray it on the power steering. And you can see the noise is gone. So we know it's not a bearing, or else it would still be making a noise. But as soon as that belt gets dry from the temperature of the pulleys, the squeak should come back. I don't see very much movement in the tensioner rocking back and forth. That's what's making the belt tight. I don't see very much movement in that, so I'm pretty sure that tension is good. But see, now it's starting to squeak again, the belt. I did see a video where I saw this character do a video on the same belt deal, and he did the same thing I'm doing, and he recommended that you replace this with gator back, and I'm pretty sure O'Reilly supplies gator back belts. So I'm going to recommend replacing the drive belt, which is a lot cheaper than replacing the water pump, because the water pump was not the issue. I started thinking it was, but doesn't seem like it is. And I think the alignment issue is down here with the crank. You can kind of carefully look at it. It's got sort of a wobble to it, which is, it should be true and straight, but not all the time. In most cases it's not. And it's not really nothing about an eyelash that. It's just when you do a wobble like that, it starts putting pressure on the sides of the belt, which causes it to squeak. So if you can still hear the squeaking, we'll wet the power steering again, and it goes away. So we need a new belt. And that'll be the problem with your squeaking sound. Sounds really quiet when the belt's good. And there's the squeaking sound. We're just waiting for it to come back as soon as the belt dries. I put a lot of water on that last time. Some people use belt dressing. I guess you could use that to kind of quiet down the squeaking sound, but just get rid of it once and for all. I'm not sure if it'll do it again when it's cold. That's why I'm not sure if you do use belt dressing. But that's my diagnosis for a bad serpentine belt. And you can see, let's shut the car off, that the belt is the original General Motors belt. So I imagine that the pulley's working properly. It's just that belt is so stretched out that pulley can't do its job. And see, it's the original GM belt, and the lettering is pretty worn off, and it had to be on here for a long time for the lettering to get pulled off of it. So yeah, we're gonna recommend that we get the belt changed. So let's see if we can order up a belt. Okay, thanks for watching my video. Hope that shows you how to diagnose a belt.